Alright, so here we go. We're going to talk now about something that, we just said in the other video, that David has a problem. And he's twisting some words here. He's saying that Prophet Muhammad can have as many sexual partners as one. And he received the revelation, and he quoted the surah. And we're going to go and check the surah, because David says, look at this, what he says. It's interesting.
He has sexual partners for some reason. I get as many as I want.
I get as many as I want.
Because God just wants me to have extra sexual partners for some reason. And I'll just say, yes, that looks awfully suspicious.
Okay, so David has some problems with, number one, he has some problems with, taking, slaves, right? So women slaves, and, so he has a problem. He says, so how can, this is a prophet, he can take women slaves? And then he has a problem with Prophet Muhammad, he has a problem with, polygamy, having more than one wife. Then he has a problem with Prophet Muhammad going, because it's restricted to 4 wives. So every Muslim, Prophet Muhammad has special privilege, and he could have more than 4 wives. But David says he can have as many wives, well, he doesn't say wives anymore. Now he changes it to sexual partners, because he wants to really emphasize, that Prophet Muhammad is so bad. And of course, David, his head is God, right? His own head is God, right? Not the God of the Bible, not the God of anything else, but his own head, him and Samson. So let's go to the surah he's quoting, because we have to, we really have to see this. He quotes the surah, so we have to check it out, because he says, you can have as many wives as you want. So in surah, this is the surah that he quoted. In verse 50, that he talks about that you can have as many wives as you want. Okay. Shall be unlawful for you, Muhammad, to marry more women after this, or to change your present lives with other women. And look at what he says here. Though their beauty may be pleasing to you. Prophet Muhammad was a man, like every man. And yes, he was attracted to him. Now think about it. Think about this. If he, and this is a strong point, if he would be a fake claiming that he's a prophet, would he really want to expose himself that the women, their beauty is pleasing him, but he's, not supposed to marry anymore? But even though their beauty is attractive, he couldn't even come with a nice excuse and say, no, I'm the prophet of God, you have to listen to me, I'll have 100 wives, you cannot question me. And, that would have been something, right? If he's a prophet, of course he'll get special treatment. That's why he's the prophet. That's why he was chosen, and not you, David. So, and that's, so now would you think about, this is deep. Would someone expose himself like that and say, though their beauty may be pleasing to you? Wouldn't people like, oh my God, their beauty is pleasing? You're a man. God is revealing this to him. No, you're not allowed to marry any more women. Even though we've given you this, okay, we've given you this, there's no blame on you. We're giving you this to you and you to you alone, okay? And this is an exception, okay? This is an exception to you, okay? With what he wants, and he can have as many sexual partners as you want. But then God says it should be unlawful to you. No more, O Prophet Muhammad. You're not allowed to marry after this anymore, even though their beauty may be. Now think about this. Because the implication of wives, right? He was allowed to have more than 4 wives. If he was really just about sexual gratification, as David claims in Psalm 1, don't you think if he is allowed, look what he says here. However, those ladies whom your right hand possess are an exception. He can still have, if he wants, concubines, slaves, right? Women slaves. Now think about David. Because you're talking about this issue of him violating the 4 wives, that everyone is allowed to have only 4, but you can have 9 or more, as many ones as you want, and then he transforms it into sexual partner. Think about this, David. Don't you think if Prophet Muhammad was after sexual gratification, he would have just stuck to the 4, so that people like you would have not questioned him, and other people, right, like Sam, and then you would have just taken slave women, the women who his right hand possessed? Don't you think that if he just wanted sexual gratification, forget about the wives, man. Why have all the having 9 wives and having to provide for them and all the the rights that a wife has over her husband that he had to provide for them? Why? When he could have just had slaves. He's look right here. It says that you can have slaves are an exception. So why? Because the wife and husband bond that he created between him and his wives each and every single one of them had a certain purpose. And he was given this exception to show people certain things, because as he was our prophet. Just like what happened with Saul at the instant. He showed us certain things that can be done. This helps other people in their lives, when such incidents will occur. And this is something very deep that maybe, David, you might not understand. So, David claims, again, that Prophet Muhammad could have as many as he wants. As many as he wants.
And I'll just say, yes, that looks awfully suspicious. Because God just wants me to have extra sexual. Here, you can have 4, but no more. Except me. Me, I get as many as I want.
So he says, I can have as many as I want. Okay. And we're showing here that no, you cannot. It's unlawful from now on. Okay, so all you have to do is just go a little bit more, read a couple more verses from where you're quoting it. But of course, this is missionary tactics, and they will never do that. Now, let's tackle the issue of David. His head is God. Him and Sam. They think they know better than God. Look at this. What? Sexual partners? What? Slaves? Slave women? Oh my God. What? How bad? Prophet Muhammad had sex with slaves. Look at what he says in the beginning. With slaves, man.
Female captives that he would have sex with.
Female captives that he would have sex with. He's not a prophet. Okay. This is Numbers 31. Moses. They fought against Midian, as the Lord commanded Moses, and killed every man. Ooh. They killed every man? Wow, that's a big slaughter. This is God speaking about God. This is God speaking. This is the word of God, according to Christians. Among their victims, okay, many victims here. Okay, the Israelites captured the Midianite women and children and took all the Midianite herds, flocks, and goods as plunder. They burned all the towns where the Midianites had settled, as well as their camps. They took all the plunder and spoils, including the people and animals, and brought the captives, David, spoils and plunders to Moses and Eleazar, the priest, and the Israelite assembly at their camp on the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho. Now people say, about David, when I talk about David and Solomon, some people say, they're priests and they disobey God. This is God ordering Moses here. You have no excuse here. It's God ordering Moses. Now look what Moses and Eleazar, they waited for, and all the leaders of the committee went to meet them outside the camp, the soldiers. Moses was angry with the officers of the army, the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds who returned from battle. Have you allowed all the women to live? You left the women to live? You mean didn't kill them? This is the prophet of God, inspired by God, okay, to speak about it. They were the ones who followed Balaam's advice and were the means of turning the Israelites away from the Lord in what happened at Peor. And so the plague struck the Lord's people. Now kill all the boys and kill every woman who has slept with a man. But save for yourself. Are you ready, David? Save for yourself, not to look at them, not to, every girl who has never slept with a man. What are you going to save them for? For to play with them, to look at them? Okay, but save for you every girl who has never slept with a man. Kill everyone else. Kill the boys, not the men. Kill the boys now. I hope that's the right translation. Every woman who has slept with a man. Let's say for every girl who has never slept with a man. For what? Just to look nice? Okay. No, you know exactly for what, David. Everyone knows for what. And then, of course, you have to purify yourself. The family heads of the community are to count all the people, animals. They're captured people and animals. They're put together, people and animals. Divide the spoils between the soldiers who took part in the battle and the rest of the community. And look at this. As a tribute for the Lord, 1 out of every 500, whether person, cattle, donkeys, sheep, or goats. Okay, this is a tribute for the Lord. And this tribute will be given to Eleazar, the priest, as the Lord's part. Really, you and Sam have to really convince yourself. Decide. Are your heads gods like your own brains, or is God God? Because people say, this is this. As Muslims, I have no problem. okay, with this. I submit. If God, this is His law, how they fought, what they fought, who they took. They're not just gonna leave the women there after they killed all their family and their people, and leave them to die hungry. They took their wives, they took these women, and they took care of them. Okay, and especially in Islam, the Prophet ﷺ said, dress them with what you're dressed. Teach them, feed them, take care of them. They're a brother God gave you, and your hand over them. So this is something very important. I ask everyone to look at this, consider this book, and see whether David and Sam are really, really people of honesty. And I ask everyone to go and read the Quran, and to read the Sirah, and to read about the Prophet ﷺ, and to see the truth of this message of Islam. So. And one last thing, just to capitalize here and to wrap up, so if you dismiss Prophet Muhammad for having, served, the slaves and, these things, why don't you dismiss Moses? This is, just the double standard these missionaries have. Assalamu alaikum.